Good morning, everyone. Come on, this is just morning, just started. Good morning again. That's much better. Lots of energy, I can see. And bright day outside, no rain. Good? Thanks God, no rain outside. At least we can reach here. Such a wonderful day, such a wonderful conference, wonderful event. And what, without GCC, nothing is possible in the country, and that we have seen, right? And we have worked around. So last few years, we were talking about the GCC, and I think every subject, every forum, every area, every stakeholder, especially the policymaker, when we meet, we work with the government a lot. When we meet, when we talk, when we discuss, when we go and we present, every time this subject of GCC, Global Capability Center, comes up. And they talk about how we can basically better support. So the first time, at least last few years, we have seen the government taking immense interest in promoting GCC, and I can see that, that's impact. And in order to quantify, we thought let's work around, let's find out how GCC contributing to India's growth story, how GCC basically impacting economically and socially the large masses, the country, and of course taking it to different level. So we worked around what we call the impact analysis of GCC in the country. And if we have to consider GCC as a country, right, GCC as a one country, how we compare against India as a GCC, other than GCC as an India country and other country in globally, how GCC ranked in India. So we compared everything. Let's see, some of the statistics is really eye-opening, some of the statistics is really great, and we can be proud of, because I think that's a contribution we are making to the nation's growth story. So moving on, the motherhood slide, basically what we talk about is a single number, right? In 1985, we all talked about that. We had the first, what we call the Texas Instrument, the launch. Then basically they got into here. From the first, Pioneer Center established in 1985, now we have almost 2,000, more than 1,800, almost 2,000 GCC center in the country. Of course, there are multiple statistics revolve around. So around 1,800 plus GCC centers we have in the country. Just imagine 1985, we just had one. Look at the growth. Massive growth. Massive growth we got. And there are multiple impact we basically calculate. One impact, we say the GCC direct impact, basically your own revenue, what you generate for your companies. And your wages you pay to your employee, and taxes you pay. Of course, a transfer, that's a different things. But whatever basically you generate directly, that's we call the direct impact, which is 76 billion USD dollar you basically contributed. Then there's an indirect impact, which means you pay to your employees the wages, they go into the market, they spend those money, and that's another income they are generating for the country, for the society. That we call it indirect impact. That equal to $61 billion. And the induced impact, there's a third impact you create by your employees basically go and hire maid, cook, driver, and other support function. And they're basically generating income through their income, their expenditure and consumption, which we call $100+ billion, what we call induced impact. So total impact generated by GCC in India is not just the revenue, in fact is $241 billion. 1,800 plus entities, $241 million impact as a GCC we have generated. And look at from the employment side, directly 2.1 million, I think that statistics is available, and we can basically relate with that. But indirect is 1.8. Your people go hire other folks, they generate 1.8 million, and they go and spend. So that generate another employment in their vendor or maybe the supplier or customer. That's 6.5 million. Cumulative 10.4 million jobs you have induced or created directly, indirectly or induced. So 1800 plus entities, 240 plus billion USD dollar of impact and 10 plus million jobs being created. Isn't it a great number? No? Can't see. That's a great number. I think we should feel proud of. Because what we see 1800 companies, 61 or 60, 64 million dollar or 70 million dollar, 2 million, that's it. But we never calculate beyond ourselves what else we are basically contributing. That's impact. Now moving on, so let's go back to 2010, right? We had something what we call revenue. That time we had a back office of the world, transactional and rule-based processes, right? 2010, 2015, transactional, what we call the just back office in the world. We used to call ourselves that way, or maybe the global company used to call that way. And what revenue we used to generate per GCC used to be $16 million, or in 2015, $19 million. Fast forward, in year 2020 or 2025, now we are innovation partner, right? Can I name it correctly? Innovation partner. We are dealing with the innovation, and what we have transformed ourselves is a product development. That's the innovation. Look at the revenue per GCC, around $42 million per revenue basically we're generating. 15 years back, we used to generate 16 million, now 42 million. Look at the jump, look at the contribution, look at the delta. That's what basically happening. Fast forward, 5 years from now, 2030, we are going to call ourselves strategic orchestra, full stack ownership. That's what we are thinking, and I'm sure that all of you guys are thinking beyond that. At least this is just the common phrase. And likelihood of revenue generated per GCC is going to be $60 million. That's what basically we are looking at. That's a growth story. That's all of you in the room, or maybe some people outside this room, are contributing through GCC network. Now when we move, as I said, our left hand side, we're talking about the total impact generated by GCC. That's 182, direct, indirect, and induced. This is a GVA. Everyone understand GVA? GDP, right? Gross value added. That's the national income. That's the face of the country. Any country, when we talk about what is GDP, what is GVA. Look at this. We generated 182 billion last year. This is just 1 year I'm talking about, not cumulative, just 1 year, 182 billion. When we basically compare with the country, it's a 2 times of India GVA. The delta piece, 2 times of India GVA and 4 times of the service sector GVA. If you can see, the direct contribution to the GVA is 68 billion. That's number, the delta number, is a 2 times of India GVA. And look at by 2030, you're going to contribute 128. That's a different number. We are twice the better off the country and 4 times better off the services sector of the country. That's the impact. Now moving on, different number, and of course we all know what is export look like. It's basically everything is as export, because we are getting paid by your employer. There's no import intensity. There's a near zero import intensity we have. But if you calculate what we call the organic export, that's 9% of the forex reserves. 9% of forex reserves, just 1800 companies, and I'm talking about 91 million entities in the country, or maybe 100 plus million entities in the country. 1800 plus contribute 9% of the forex reserves. That's possible because if you look at even if you basically channelize inorganic growth, maybe creating competition for homegrown IT companies, we're still doing much better job, much better contribution. And if I have to look at the GCC exports growth and the services sector export growth, it's not basically, it's not eating each other's share, it's contributing. Because even if I talk about services sector growth in year 2015 to 2020, while GCC grew 12%, but services sector in the country also grew 6%. Now today, when I compare 2020 to 2025, services sector grew 12%. So it's not eating services sector share. In fact, both are growing together. And look at the GCC, 18% growth. That's a different number. Now when I consider GCC as a country, and I try to compare how GCC basically generating the income, what we call the GDP per capita, USD dollar, right? Simple. That's what basically everyone said, well, how much our income vis-a-vis China, vis-a-vis US, vis-a-vis European countries. So I put the red line, you can see the GCC, that's the one country, and what is the per capita? GCC per capita is $32,553. That's basically income we generate for our people, yourself, and all that. Of course, they are employee. Whereas India was 2,800. Is 11 times of India's national income. So if you consider yourself as a country, you are on par with what we call Bahrain, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Japan, South Korea, slightly less than the France. So you are basically equivalent to some of the developed country in the nation, in the world. That's the GCC basically doing. So these numbers are just calculated number. These numbers are not exaggerated. These numbers are not superpopulated. These are numbers are basically the actual contribution coming through the what we call the national input output statistics equation. So real number is real calculation number. Is not an exaggerated number. Is not superpopulated number. Now moving on, some of the growth stories, some of the innovation bit, I think everyone's aware of, right? AstraZeneca, what we call interactive digital replica. We have Love's proprietary self-checkout system, Hexagon, largest R&D site. We have the 200 plus engineers they've employed, Novartis, then SAP Labs, the GE Johnson's Web Technology Center. There are 5,000 engineers, 3,500 plus patents. These are some of the innovation example, a use case of the case studies of some of the company, just for the sake of understanding how the GCC in the country basically now innovation champion or innovation partner or moving ahead. These are some of the stuff we thought we'll basically present. Now for the interest of the time, I'm not going to talk about everything. We have created a report, Impact of GCC in the Country, and that report I would request everyone, and of course there will be some announcement, maybe collect it from the counter when you leave today, and that basically we have calculated what we call the impact on the output, impact of the GVA, export, employment, productivity, innovation, regional development, and of course some of the innovation we talked about. So that's overall, and I'm feeling very confident that GCC soon will be 5,000, 10,000 companies. We are creating a good competition in the market. And through that, we are basically creating a forward and backward linkages for the economy. And I'm expecting, I think, 11 times income certainly should become a 22 times income going forward. Thank you for listening, and I'm looking forward for a good, insightful conversation. Thank you.